Let's just jump right in, shall we? Welcome to this explainer on mastering Tableau. If you've ever stared at a massive, soul-crushing spreadsheet and just wondered how on earth you're supposed to pull the real story out of all those endless rows and columns, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to unlock Tableau's true potential together, looking at everything from the absolute basics all the way to the advanced calculation techniques the pros use.
Because look, we all know raw numbers alone, they're meaningless. Until we actually structure and understand them, they don't do us much good, which is exactly the problem Tableau was built to solve. Businesses are generating these massive, overwhelming amounts of data every single day. But a mountain of data is really just a mountain of noise without a clear way to visualize it. Tableau is essentially your bridge between those complex data sets and actual actionable business decisions. So for our agenda today, we're going to cover connecting and classifying data, building essential charts, mastering custom calculations, getting into LODs, table calcs, and parameters, and then wrapping up with dashboards and stories.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, connecting and classifying data. This is really the foundation of your entire analysis. The second you connect your data sources, whether that's just a simple Excel sheet, a SQL database, cloud storage, whatever, Tableau automatically does this really crucial split. Grasping this qualitative versus quantitative concept is the absolute key to predicting how your charts are actually going to behave. So on one side, you've got dimensions. These are your qualitative fields, the who, what, and where, right? Think customer names, categories, geographical locations. Tableau usually color codes these blue. Then on the other side, you have measures. These are your quantitative, numerical values, the how much. Things like sales revenue, profit, quantity. And when you drop a measure into your view, Tableau's default reflex is to aggregate it, like giving you a sum or an average. Knowing which bucket your data falls into is step one for sure. Moving right along to Section 2, building essential Tableau charts. This is where we start actually visualizing the data. And this is where it starts to get fun. When you drag and drop these fields, the specific combination of dimensions and measures dictates what kind of visualization you get. Dragging a geographical dimension, boom, you've got a map, immediately showing you regional hotspots. If you plot two numerical measures against each other, you get a scatter plot, which is incredible for spotting correlations or weird outliers, like, say, comparing marketing spend to actual sales. The second you bring a date dimension into the mix, line charts become your best friend for tracking trends over time. And obviously, the classic bar chart is your go-to for comparing categories. Tableau makes all of this super intuitive, but ultimately, you're the architect deciding which chart answers the business question best. Which brings us to Section 3, mastering custom calculated fields. This is literally the brain of Tableau. Because, dragging and dropping is great. It gets you far. But to unlock the really heavy-hitting analytical power, to stop just reporting on what happened and start analyzing why it happened, we have to dive into the calculation engine. So what is a calculated field? It's basically a custom expression you build using the data you already have. By jumping into the expression editor, you can literally invent entirely new metrics that don't even exist in your underlying database. For instance, you could use simple arithmetic to multiply your sales field by 1.1, and instantly, across your entire dataset, you've applied a 10% markup. You're taking static numbers and turning them into strategic insights. Now, figuring out when these calculations happen is vital. You have to know if you're calculating line by line or on the aggregated view to ensure your math actually makes sense. First up, row-level calculations. These happen on every single row in your database before anything is grouped together. Then you have aggregate calculations. These kick in after the data is grouped, like taking total sales divided by total profit to figure out a profitability ratio. Finally, table calculations. These happen last. They apply post-aggregation math right onto the visual view itself, which is absolutely perfect for things like running totals or ranking items. And the sheer versatility of the formula editor, it's kind of staggering. You've got string functions to clean up messy text data. You have number functions to round decimals, or my personal favorite, the ZN function, which instantly replaces null values with zeros so your math doesn't break. And then there are logical functions. With a simple if-then statement, you can assign dynamic text labels based on performance. Like if profit is greater than 0, label it profitable. Otherwise, label it not profitable. It's basically programming without all the headaches of writing full software code. I do want to specifically call out date functions because they are absolute powerhouses. To put it into perspective, there was a retail analyst who used the datadiff function simply to measure the gap between order dates and ship dates. By visualizing that one calculated difference, they spotted massive operational bottlenecks and ended up cutting shipping delays by 20%. That is the real-world value here. You're not just making pretty charts, you're actively driving business efficiency. Okay, let's move to section 4, LODs, table calcs, and parameters. Time for some advanced analytics. Now that we've got the basic math down, let's talk about controlling granularity independent of what's actually visible on the screen. Level of detail expressions, or LODs, are total game changers for this. They let you compute values at the data source level, ignoring whatever the user dragged into the visual. So, fixed calculates a value at a dimension you specifically set, locking it in and ignoring other filters. Include calculates at the view's level of detail plus whatever extra dimension you add. And exclude does the exact opposite, dropping dimensions from the math. If you ever need to compare one single customer's sales against the fixed total of their entire region, LODs are exactly how you pull that off. But here's a massive question. What if your business users want to change the rules of the math on the fly? They don't want to submit a ticket and wait for you to rebuild the dashboard. How do we hand them that control? The answer is parameters. And listen, parameters aren't just simple drop-down filters. They are independent input values. You can wire a parameter directly into an if-then calculation. Imagine building a parameter called sales benchmark. The viewer can literally type in $10,000 and instantly the calculation updates, highlighting all regions above that new custom threshold in green and below in red. It totally eliminates the need to build a dozen duplicated views for every possible scenario. You build the logic once and you let the user play. Finally, Section 5, Designing Dashboards and Stories. This is where we communicate our insights to the world. Because all of this intense data modeling, the LODs, the parameters, it all leads to the final story you're telling. But as you assemble these interactive dashboards, you absolutely must optimize for performance. A beautiful dashboard is completely useless if it takes 5 minutes to load. To keep things snappy, try to minimize nested calculations. Avoid putting a calc inside a calc inside a calc. Aggregate your data as early as possible to reduce the load on your database. And hey, if things are still lagging, use Tableau's built-in performance recorder to figure out exactly which specific chart or query is causing the traffic jam. Let's wrap up by looking at where this is all heading. Tableau is already evolving rapidly with AI and automation. As natural language processing continues to improve, just imagine a future where instead of painstakingly writing out a complex LOD expression, you just type show sales growth by region compared to regional total, and the AI just builds the math for you. As machine learning automates more of the heavy lifting, how is that going to shift your role? You'll likely move from being just a dashboard builder to being a highly strategic business advisor. It's a pretty fascinating thought to leave you with today. Keep experimenting, keep building, and we'll see you in the next explainer.